So you're a vegan, aren't you? Right? Are you still a vegan, or?
But for the most part, I do my best.
Yeah,
But then sometimes, you go over people's houses, and that you want to be polite, and I'm not too militant with it. But I try and do my best,
yeah.
and occasionally there's the odd slip up with,
You,
yeah, going over people's houses and having no options when you go out for dinner and things like that. So
Yeah, no,
for the
that's
most part,
fair enough. Because basically, the question someone posed to me the other day, and I was thinking about it, which wanted me to make this podcast, was wildlife photographers talk about being incredibly ethical and trying to save the environment, and then you see someone who spouts all that, and then they jet set halfway across the world to go and do, the Serengeti, all that pollution they're pumping out, or others who talk about it and then they're eating unsustainable food sources. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that you're perfect. And I'm not saying that we have the answers either. We're just gonna talk this through today. But I
yeah.
just thought it's a question that is interesting and worth talking about. So what made you want to go, I do vegan inverted quotes, what made you want to do that? Because I remember at uni you were in like late night kebabis shoving
Oh,
chicken, in every
animal,
orifice.
absolute animal. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You know, it embarrassing to a point. Obviously, I absolutely love the taste of meat. It's not because it's gross and things like that. Obviously, if there was a way that I could have a zero carbon footprint and eat it and not hurt an animal, then I would. Because there's people growing things in labs at the moment. Obviously, there's it's not quite the same as meat at the moment, but it was a couple of things really. It was a few documentaries. There was one in particular. It was the guy who made The Cove, which
Okay.
that just blew my mind. And honestly, I would rather eat terrestrial meat rather than food from the ocean, because out of sight, out of mind. It's underneath in this little alien place. There are all these big, just little fish swimming away that they're all the same. That's quite often how they're seen. But and the fishing industry, it's just awful sometimes.
Well, my girlfriend's dad's a trawlerman, or he was a trawlerman, and we went out. I don't know if I told you this story, but we went out on a boat, and he shoved it because I thought it'd be really interesting to see how they do it. It's not something most people get to see, and they drag in these massive nets, and it's full of like spider crabs and all these weird and wonderful crabs. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he goes, right, it's mallet time, and he just gets this massive hammer and starts fucking smashing these crabs because he can't be asked to pull them out. So he's just going bam, 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 and like I get quite seasick anyway. So the smell of like crab guts all over me, seeing these crabs, and I just thought, because they don't even eat half the time, they're not big enough to eat, so they're just getting smashed for laziness. And I was just like, it did make me think, oh, so I'm really careful what fish and shellfish I eat now. I try not to eat much of it. I still do eat fish, but yeah, like you say, it's different when it's maybe a little lamb or a little piglet, and everyone's like, ah. But
Oh, they're so adorable, and then
yeah, you've got this crab that comes out, and people maybe don't think the same about that. But I was just like, I did feel quite sorry for him.
yeah, there's and people don't know those things. I don't know the actual figures, but more often than not, when people are trawling, there's the bycatch is like far outweighs the actual catch.
Mm.
And in some places, new species have been discovered because of fishing. They've been killed, either thrown back in or brought into a market and sold over the counter as a certain species. There was a story in, I think it was Morocco. They discovered like a new species of thresher shark just sat on a bed of ice.
Oh wow.
Um, I can't remember. It was a short documentary I saw at Wildscreen 2 years ago, and it's just very depressing when you see that kind of thing. Like these beautiful new species, sharks in particular is one of the things that it was sharks that got me into wildlife. Full stop. You know,
Yeah,
um,
it's funny, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, they are just a big fish, but sharks seem to be above others, don't they? Like so I'm quite a keen angler, but I wouldn't fish for sharks. And
Yeah,
it shouldn't make a difference because it's just, what's the difference between that and a little, guppy or something? But they're
yeah.
both fish at the end of the day. But I wouldn't. It
They're
just
these.
doesn't interest me.
Yeah, they're just these apex predators that the the ecosystem's so sensitive, and then having something that has such a huge effect on the food chain and getting rid of those. What is it, like 90% of the sharks have, the numbers have reduced to 10% over the
Yeah,
last few years.
yeah. Well, you've got all the
Um,
squid coming, haven't you? The Humboldt squid.
oh, don't get me
That
this, so terrified.
because
Like I,
the sharks kept them down, and now there's no sharks. So you've got these, 9-foot long killer squid coming out of the ocean trying to fuck everything up.
like I absolutely love everything in the ocean, and there's not many things that I wouldn't get in the water with, but those things can piss off. They're fun. They're so scary and
I'm,
so strong. It's yeah, and the swarms. You see some of the documentaries with those and the people who have like fallen off boats into a swarm and things like that. It's just
oh, what if they killed people?
yeah.
Really?
In
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I can't 100% say,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there's people who have
It wouldn't
lost
surprise me.
hands and they're covered in scars, and because their
Yeah,
beaks are like,
yeah. Big
I've got really
big
small
old
hands.
beaks.
They're enormous. Yeah.
I always remember diving around Pendennis, and I know there aren't Humboldt squids there, but I'm always a bit like, what the fuck's looking at me when I'm under the water? I know there's nothing's going to get you, but you
Yeah,
can't
when the
help but think it.
visibility is like below 10 meters, and you can just see this bluey green color, and in the UK, for people who are a little more informed, that there is pretty much nothing out there that can seriously hurt you. You still have that bizarre fear of the
I get it in swimming
blue.
pools, or the bath. Sometimes I'm just a bit like, ah.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, there was like even a drain. I was scared to go in swimming pools. I'd be like, maybe there's dangerous fish in these little drains and things like that. But I absolutely adore being in the sea. It's one of my favorite things. Even that big open expanse, when I'm in the ocean, I can't see the floor. I get
Oh,
a
you
real
like that, do you?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
really strange. It's a bit masochistic, I guess, but I absolutely love it. Yeah.